Hey guys, welcome back to AP. So last week we did a swamp base for one of the Nalzur's Marvelous Miniatures, the Black Dragon. I got a couple more here that I'm about to start commission work for, and we'll probably do some videos on those as well. If you haven't seen the swamp base, click that little tab that's coming across the screen, go watch that, and then come back to this video where I'm going to show you how I blend crappy acrylic paints. I don't use any of the high-end paints. I don't use Vallejo or Army Painter or GW. However, I do use GW washes, and I'm pretty sure that without the GW washes, my paint jobs wouldn't look nearly as good as they do. So if you're in this and you're doing it the cheap road and you're going for cheap acrylic paints like I do, it's like 70 cents a bottle, 50 cents a bottle, just depends on where you're at, definitely spend some money and get some of those GW washes because they really do help pull everything together. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do blending with crappy acrylic paints on a blue dragon, which super excited about because the blue dragon is by far my favorite dragon in the D&D realm. Lore wise, the way they look, I love it, and Nalzur's did a fantastic job on this miniature. They are absolutely beautiful. So let's go ahead and cut to the chase and we'll get started into this. One disclaimer is that I did lose some footage at the very end, and I will point that out, but I will also make sure to walk you through those steps as we go along so that you're not left in the dark on a particular step that I did. So let's head to the table and I'll show you how I did it. Okay, so the first thing I needed to do was find a reference photo. I found this pretty one, but that's not what we needed. We needed this. I needed to know how and where to blend the blue with the dingy yellow of his underbelly armor and the wings. Referencing that photo, I painted the whole thing blue, a blue watercolor, and then I went to a vanilla cream to stipple in the color difference between the two. I didn't want to use a yellow because I didn't want to have to face any issues with it turning a green color. Just stippling it on, not being really careful, just kind of being real sloppy about it, because I knew in the end I was just gonna go back and we're gonna tighten up the difference between the two colors using the same type of stippling effect, which is gonna give us a cleaner look between the two. Now, by no means am I a pro at any of this painting stuff, guys, so I realize that I'm probably doing something wrong, but the way that I do things works for me. So that's what I keep doing. So just, as I said, stippling this color on is going to help us give a variation between the blue and the yellow. Now here's where we're going to mix yellow with our cream and start giving ourselves that dingy yellow look that the blue dragons are known for in their under armor's part of their body. So again, stippling this on, and I'm going for like a 90% coverage of this color over the vanilla cream. Now I'm doing that because I want a small bit of the vanilla cream color around the edges of where the blue is, and that's because we're gonna blend the blue into that just a little bit more later on. My apologies for a lot of the camera angles, guys. I don't really have a setup for painting miniatures. I'm working on that. We'll get there at some point. Now, after I had all of the yellow color on top of the cream, I went back in without really cleaning out my brush, just kind of got it damp and did like a wet dry brush, if that makes sense, around the edges where the vanilla cream color meets the blue, to give more of a random look to it, less of a defined line between the two colors. This was not difficult, and also was a very messy kind of paint job. This poor dragon looked terrible through most of this paint job. My OCD was driving me crazy throughout the entire thing. There was just paint all over places that it shouldn't have been. But this is what I needed to do in order to create that nice blending effect between the blue and the yellow. So, powered through it and just kept on going, hoping that this was going to turn out really nice. Now, one thing that I did not record was underneath the wing, right where it meets the body. I went back over that probably about 6 to 8 times, shifting between the vanilla cream mixed with the yellow and also the blue to get just the right look. And while I was doing this, I had the picture that I was referencing up in front of me. I was just trying to emulate exactly how that looked. I got pretty close, I feel, but that picture is just real beautiful, and it was kind of really hard to get that same look. I got really close. I really love the finish of this miniature. It looks really good. But by doing this like dry brushing, wet kind of weird blend situation that I was doing here, gave the underside more of a blue and the upper parts, the raised parts of the miniature, that dingy yellow look, which at the current moment doesn't look good. But once we added the washes at the very end was when it changed the whole thing. Everything just really blended itself back together. And after I cleaned up and put blue where it needed to be, it looked fantastic. So here's where we take some watered down blue and go around all of the edges. Now, I watered it down quite a bit and had to do this more than once, and that was to help give that blue appearance to the shading into the yellow. So just a lot of water. I can't stress that enough. A lot of water. You just want barely any type of blue coverage there, and that's gonna give you like a weird translucent color between the blue and the cream. And this is about the part where I started taking the full strength blue and started cleaning up the miniature, getting that cream color back off of certain parts, like this part above the wing and also on the legs, some of the parts on the face and the jaw. See, this is end result right before we start doing the washes. I did the eyes, I did the mouth, I did the teeth, did the claws. This miniature was completely done other than the Nuln Oil and also the Agrax Earthshade, which I used in certain parts. Now, the Nuln Oil I used only on the blue. It didn't look good when I put it on the yellow. I do put it on the horn of the yellow. I'm not really sure why I did that, but I did end up leaving it like that, and it looks good. But staying only on the blue gives us a really dark blue color to it, as you can see here in these photos. And then using the Agrax Earthshade on the yellow is gonna give us a real good blend between those two. Now, before I took any of the photos, before it was actually done and I was complete with the miniature, I went back in with a dry brushing of the full strength blue that I used and went over the entire body and really brought back a lot of those high points and toned down that Nuln Oil back down to just being a highlight for the shaded areas and the recesses. I also went back in with the mixture of vanilla cream and canary yellow, and also dry brushed in on the undersides of the wings, right down the center of the belly and the tail and the neck, and hit the very tip of the horn on his head. And that was what really brought out all of the deeper recess shading that we used on all of this. So guys, that is it for this video. I realize I am not the greatest at explaining things. I've tried my best. I really hope this helps you if you guys are like I am and you're trying to just do your best with what you've got. In the future, I am going to keep doing miniatures. I really love painting miniatures. It is a huge thing for me. I've progressed a lot over the last year or so in what I can do with these crappy paints and brushes that I use to do these miniatures. On a bigger note here, and what I'm really trying to prove is that you don't need to go out and spend hundreds of dollars on the higher end miniature paints. Don't get me wrong, they're awesome. I have a few of them and they're fantastic. Their coverage is great. You can move them around real quick, easy. I mean, they're just fantastic paints, but unfortunately I don't have the money for that kind of stuff. So I have to work with these cheap paints, and yes, sometimes it's very frustrating. There's a couple of the colors that don't really cover anything. Purples being one of them. Is you have to go back and forth until you get just the right amount of coverage. It's painstaking, a pain in the ass, and I hate it, but it's what I have and what I have to work with. So I make the best of it, and I believe that if you guys are watching this video and trying to do the same kind of stuff, it's possible. It's 100% possible. It just takes time and patience. Patience is a big thing here as well. I hope you guys enjoy these pictures. This miniature turned out really good. He's already home with his owner, and the owner is super happy with the way they turned out. That's why I ended up with more commission work from this guy. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Throw some comments down there if you have any questions, or heck, if I'm doing something wrong and you think I could be learning or doing something in a different way that could help me be a better miniature painter, go for it. I'm all ears. If you guys are interested in supporting anything I do here on the channel, be that my terrain building or my miniature painting, I do have a Patreon page. I do not have a whole lot of stuff to contribute on my Patreon page. I did just add a tier up there for getting a t-shirt every month. So if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff really helps out the channel. Thank you to my Patreon supporters that I have at the current moment. You guys push me through, keep me going on this stuff. So thank you for that. I'm gonna call the video here, mainly because I'm done talking. So everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Enjoy your families, eat a lot of food, watch football if that's something that you do. We're gonna see you guys this time next week.